Unit 5, Section 4, Sine, Cosine, and Tangent. This is a very important piece of learning trigonometry, which is going to be coming in your pre-calculus class in a year or two. We have a shortcut with this, kind of a nickname, and it's SOHCAHTOA. I really recommend you saying that about 50 times to yourself. SOHCAHTOA, 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 SOHCAHTOA. It will be very, very helpful once we get into this section. Look at the visual. You'll see that sine, which is the S, and then O for opposite, H for hypotenuse, is where the SO comes from. Then we've got C for cosine, adjacent hypotenuse, which is CA, and then T for tangent, opposite, adjacent, and that's where the TOA comes in. So SOHCAHTOA is going to help us solve these using ratios. Let's see what the vocabulary is. So trigonometry. Trigonometry is a branch of mathematics that studies relationships between the sides and angles of triangles. Trigonometry is found all throughout geometry, as every straight-sided shape may be broken into as a collection of triangles. So anything straight-sided can also be divided into triangles. So sine is abbreviated S-I-N. You look on your calculator, you'll see these. Cosine, C-O-S, and tangent, T-A-N. They're trigonometric functions. They help us find missing sides and angles depending on what information we have. So you're going to often see this little form here, which is sort of looks like a zero with a line through it. That's the missing angle that we might be looking for. All right. So sometimes we're looking for angles, sometimes we're looking for sides. We have to use these three ratios to help us solve that. So you do need to memorize this. SOHCAHTOA, 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 SOHCAHTOA. Say it to yourself at least 50 times. You want to write it down at the top of your paper whenever you're solving a problem because it helps you to see it. It's very easy to mix up these different parts because, as you can see, they use the same words: opposite, hypotenuse, alternate, hypotenuse, opposite, alternate. So there's only 3 words being used. Well, 2 words. No, 3 words: opposite, hypotenuse, and alternate. But it's a combination of them that go along with the first letter of each of these that makes that SOHCAHTOA. That's why you have to memorize it. All right, let's do some examples. First, let's look at a visual. So here's your visual. As you can see, kind of similar to what we looked at before. The sine of angle A is sine A, which is opposite over hypotenuse, which is A over C. Basically just showing you the relationships and the ratios. Remember, ratios can be written as a fraction, which is what it is here. Okay. So let's begin with example 1. 1 and 2 you won't need a calculator for, but you're definitely going to need it after that. We're trying to find the value of each trigonometric ratio. That's basically writing it as a fraction, as we're used to doing. So let's take a look at tan x, which basically is saying that we're looking for the tangent, which is TOA. So we're looking for the x, which is here. We're looking for the side that's opposite x, which is 28. And then we are looking for the one that's alternate to x, which is 21, because otherwise it would be the hypotenuse, and we don't want that. So 28 over 1 is our trigonometric ratio. If we divide both of those by 7, we get 4 over 3. So the answer here is 4 over 3. Try example 2 while pausing and then check yourself. All right, so for example 2, we saw that it was sine, so that's SOH, A-S-O-H, sine, opposite, hypotenuse. So opposite was 15, and then hypotenuse was 17, so I put 15 over 17. I cannot simplify that, so therefore that is the trigonometric ratio. All right, let's look at example 3. We're trying to find a missing side now. So we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So to find this, we would see that we have, okay, so we are trying to find the missing side. We do have an angle. We have 65. We also have the side that is opposite the angle, and we have the side that is the hypotenuse. So that's going to be opposite, hypotenuse. So we're going to figure out the sine of 65 degrees, okay? is equal to 16 over x. So we need our calculators for that. All right, so when you're trying to do this, you're going to hit sine and then 65, all right? And then it's going to give you an answer, and that answer is 14.5. No, it's not 14. It's going to give you this very long decimal here. Now, the best way to use the calculator to help you solve that is you're going to figure out what the answer is, then you're going to say 16 times, hit the second button and hit down here the answer button, because then it'll give you that exact answer and times it by 16. When you do that, you will get 14.5. That means that that side that's missing would be 14.5. Try example 4 and then check. Okay, so when you look at example 4, you see that we have an angle and we have the opposite, and then we're looking for the adjacent. So it's TOA, T-O-A, tangent, opposite, adjacent. So we find the tangent of 38, because that's the degree that we have, and we say the opposite, 20, is over the adjacent, x. So when I look at something like this, I know that I can switch the x and the tan 38, because basically they're just factors of the same number. So when I switch those, 20 divided by the tangent of 38 is 25.6. All right, let's look at example 5. Example 5 is asking me to find the angle. So this is probably the most tricky one, because we're actually having to find the angle. That means we're going to have to use reverse SOHCAHTOA, all right? Your calculator has this built in, so you don't have to do much. You just have to know what to push. So if I'm looking at example 5, it looks to me like my angle has something opposite and something adjacent. So that's TOA, okay? So that means that 51 over 49, which is opposite over adjacent, I figure out what the answer to that is. It's very long. It's 10408, many, many, many more digits. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the tan. On your calculator, you will see reverse, but you have to use the second button, and then here, if you look, you see tan to the power of -1. That basically means opposite of tangent. So we're going to hit that button, put the parentheses will come in, and then we're going to do second and answer again, because we want to use the answer that we originally got. So once you do that, you should come up with 46.15, which if we round that to the nearest degree, it would be 46 degrees. You try number 6, example 6, and then check back. All right, you should have noticed that this angle that we're looking for had an adjacent and a hypotenuse answer. So we're going to take adjacent, put it over hypotenuse, 31 over 35. We get 0.89. We take the cosine -1, so the opposite of cosine, of 0.89, and we get 28 degrees. So we have found that angle. This is complicated. Take your time, look back at the examples. Hopefully you wrote them down. If not, you can rewind. And it's time for you to try this on your own. Good luck.